The following is a presentation of Project Independence and WCWP. Project Independence is the Aging in Place initiative of the town of North Hempstead.
Welcome to Project Independence and You.
Good morning and welcome to Project Independence and You, Community Talk Radio on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. I am Rebecca Miller, the host of Project Independence and You, along with our co-host, Otto Lohse. Good morning, Otto.
Good morning, Rebecca. Having a little technical problem this morning.
We can hear you, but we can't see you. So that works for radio. But once this does air on North Hempstead Television and YouTube, you'll also be able to hear Otto, but won't be able to see him. Today, we also have, of course, our radio show producer extraordinaire, Christina Liu, who brings this show together every week with wonderful guests. And this has been going on into our 12th year now. So good morning, Christina. How are you?
I like that Otto has this like Wizard of Oz thing, going on. Like he's like the man behind, so.
I know, he's in, he's out. It's great. It's great.
I'm afraid to move.
So our very special guest today is our very own North Hempstead Town Supervisor, Jennifer DeSena. Good morning, Supervisor.
Good morning. Thank you for inviting me. It's great to be with you.
It's so good to have you on as a guest, and we're looking forward to hearing about the State of the Town 2023, which I believe was last month. We had the event was held at the Harbor Links Golf Course, and it was a full house. So really looking forward to, this was your second State of the Town address. The last time we had you on was your first. I think you weren't in the town that long at that time. So a whole year plus has passed. I'm so curious, before we get into the State of the Town, what are some of the things that you kind of experienced that, kind of stand out about our town of North Hempstead in this year as a supervisor?
Mm-hmm. Well, I have to say that the crown jewel of the town of North Hempstead is Project Independence. So thank you. Yes. Thank you for being a part of that. We have over 16,000 seniors that are connected through this program. And, we send our newsletters. We've got nurses and social workers and so much great advice to help seniors stay in their homes and stay in the town of North Hempstead. So thank you for all you do. And, everybody who's a part of Project Independence. Everywhere I go, people talk to me about it. And I actually was just at a program this morning before this, and it was Family and Children's Association. And they have had their educators talk to our seniors also. So I'm always happy to hear, all the professionals that you have who come and take part in this program and educate our seniors, and all the support, all the parties. Fun Day Monday, it just goes on and on. All the fun we have. And so it really has been a huge part of my first year as town supervisor, is going to all the programs that you have for our seniors, and celebrations, education, you name it, you've got it.
Well, I'm certainly not going to interrupt you. If you feel like you want to talk a little bit more about Project Independence, right. But it's so wonderful to hear that, your view is that Project Independence is this crown jewel, and we all certainly feel the same way here. It's, we have a wonderful team of staff. We have the best residents, active, engaging, and we have these wonderful resources in the town of North Hempstead. We've got all these hospital systems. We have we're on the border of New York City. We have transportation. There's so many incredible resources in North Hempstead, And recently I was asked, I spoke at the Williston Park Seniors on Wednesday and just talked about Project Independence. And they asked a question which a lot of people ask, do other towns and other places, have something similar, or do they come to us to ask? And yes, the answer is yes. We've had almost every town in Nassau and Suffolk and parts of upstate and the county come to us. And how do we replicate Project Independence? And the one thing that really stands out, I've been, working with Project Independence in different aspects for 16 years now, is that you can't do exactly what we do here because you have to know what your resources are. You can't promise Northwell and NYU Langone and St. Francis and all these other wonderful agencies that we have in North Hempstead if you don't have them. So we have a great wealth of resources, which most other places do. You just have to know what you can offer. And the things that you can't, you have to understand the network process for, all these agencies that maybe are outside the town and create relationships. So, it's wonderful working for Project Independence, and our senior population is growing, it's expanding, and there's a lot of issues too. It's not all, hey, wow, my grandparent is 100 years old. Yeah, but that comes with a lot of issues, a lot of concern. We have grandparents who are taking care of their parents still. So, though we have these we have social workers and nurses and all these great things, I could talk about Project Independence, Supervisor. But you got to cut me off, or, we got to talk about the state of the town.
Let me just add 2 cents to that, all right? The other part of it is, I agree with you 100%, is the team that you have. There's a strong continuity, a complete devotion to the program by you, Christina, and all the people that I've been involved with. I've been through stuff like this in the business world, and there's nothing as successful as this. And a lot of it has to do with the people who back it up, the continuity of the people, the sincerity, and that's not easy to package either. That's difficult. So anyhow, you guys should get a large star, gold star for this whole thing as well. So anyhow, that's my story.
Thanks, Otto. That was, very true. But, we do have hardworking people in Project Independence and the Department of Services for the Aging. And we have a lot of wonderful partners. And I have so many statistics that I could just go over. Christina tracks all the statistics that come in, and we have these incredible numbers. Since 2009, there were over 320 SRs for Project Independence. That's a lot. And I believe, Christina, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that in 2022, I think we had over Project Independence, just the Department of Services for the Aging, I think we had like 40% of all the SRs that came into the town.
46%. It was some crazy number of all the SRs that come into the town.
So, it is a critical department for our seniors, whether they're signing up for a health chat, a fitness class, want to speak to a social worker about entitlements, talk to a nurse about medication management, whatever the calls are, they keep coming. And, of course, the transportation program, which is huge. So thank you for, everything you said about Project Independence. We are very prideful of it. And we have the most amazing residents too, who come every month, as you know, Supervisor, to our advisory meetings, to our fitness classes. It's amazing the participation that we also have from our seniors. And yes, 16,000 members strong. And I think we have around between like 55,000 people in the town of North Hempstead, give or take, that are 60 and older. Maybe even a little bit more. So based on the last census. So
we have to connect to those extra people too. We have to get them on board too.
Yeah, the newbies. Come on,
Yes.
just call 311. We're an aging in place program. Our goal is to help you stay in your home. So yeah. So it's been great talking about Project Independence, and we can go on, but I know that you had a lot of initiatives and visions for the town of North Hempstead, and just wanted to get, an idea, kind of, are there certain things that the visions that you have for the town, like, instead of maybe going step by step through the actual presentation you did, like what are the like 4 or 5, top priorities that are part of your vision?
Well, one of them is to move forward on some infrastructure projects. Every year the town board votes on a capital plan, and it has a lot of items in it. And, it's our roadmap of what we want to do, but not enough of them get started. So, we wanted to push. I was very fortunate to get this job as we have emerged from COVID. And so it's time to work. It's time to get these projects done. We have a problem with inflation. We had some, supply issues, but these things have to get done. That's the town's job, is to provide safe parks and safe roads. That's our main, obviously Project Independence is excellent, but the town's basic government function is the safety of our roads and our parks. So a few things we have pushed forward, and we've started. We actually have begun the long-awaited renovation of Charles Fischillo Park in Carl Place. So, that's something we're going to be over there filming the progress. Hopefully it will be less than a year, but it's underway. And so I'm very excited about that. We're moving forward on a long-awaited project, also in Carl Place, the repaving of Westbury Ave and the redoing of the sidewalks. This is something we're going to do in conjunction with Nassau County. It's something that's been waiting. It's when you have many layers of government, which we do have. Sometimes there's, we have to wait for them. We have to wait for them. But we got together with the county, and we're moving forward. We made a commitment. We've put funds into a dedicated account to get that done. So, again, moving forward. We also are starting quite a few major repairs at Tully Park. So I'm very excited, that we're beginning work. This will involve new tennis courts, new pickleball courts.
Pickleball.
And I know. That's a bonus word. But these things are about to happen also at Tully.
Could I
Go
ask
ahead,
you
Otto.
just a general question? Yeah.
Yeah.
We talk about town roadways. Is there kind of a guideline as to what actually is a town roadway? Like Jericho Turnpike, New Hyde Park Road. I don't think these are town roadways.
Exactly. There's a map that you can go to find out, is it a county road, a state road, a town road? Sometimes the issues are, well, the town is responsible for the curb to the sidewalk, and the county's responsible for the street. So, that's something that we very often have to check, which road. So if someone has, for instance, I believe a traffic study is being done right now on Shelter Rock Road in Manhasset, but it's being done by the county because that's a county road. But we asked for it to be done. So, there's a lot of working together that has to be done when it comes to the roads.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like there's so many different jurisdictions when it comes to determining, but, even though Shelter Rock may be a county road, it is in North Hempstead. So, we do have to work together. Yeah.
Right. And there are 31 villages inside the town of North Hempstead. So, very often there's coordination needed, support for each other. So, but again, it's all about getting things done for the residents. That's what I wanted to accomplish when I ran for supervisor, and we have been able to move forward on some things. I'm hoping we're getting close to installing sewers in Manhasset. Now, I live in Manhasset, so this is something that I've been hearing about for a long time. Residents have said, why don't we have sewers? These are restaurants on Plandome Road that have to pump their septic tank every week. That makes it hard to open stores on Plandome Road, hard to open restaurants especially, and restaurants are what make a town great. So we're very close, thanks to a grant secured by Assemblywoman Gina Solitti. We are about to start the design of a sewer pipe underneath Plandome Road, and I've put forth a proposal to use the town's ARPA funds to allow the stores to connect to those sewers so that we get a lot of stores participating quickly, and then we can take care of repairing pavement and sidewalks after the hookups are done. So this is something that we've been waiting for a long time. I'm sure you know about that, Otto.
Well, I moved to Manhasset. I lived in Manhasset from 1971 to 1997. In 1971, they were talking about putting sewers into the homes. And as you probably realize, we raised 6 children in Manhasset. And with cesspools, it was like having milk delivered. You had to have the cesspool pumped out. You tried to have guidelines. You only allowed a 1-minute shower, or whatever. It's a real hassle living with cesspools, to be blunt about it.
Yeah. I've had to pump mine on Christmas Eve because family came to visit and they took showers and ran the dishwasher in the same day. And you can't do that.
Wow.
So
there's all kinds of guidelines you have to have.
This plan has been very carefully designed by the Manhasset Chamber of Commerce to only connect with low pressure sewers only to the businesses on Plandome Road. Unfortunately, this is not going to extend to residences at this point. But this is very pro-business and pro-environment because this means, less leakage of nitrates into Manhasset Bay. So it benefits so much of the community, not just Manhasset, but everybody who lives around Manhasset Bay and has been working for cleaner water.
It's messy.
It is. It is a messy prospect. I know that we're probably going to have to take a break in about a minute, but so I want to start up a new question, but I just wanted to point out, because it is Project Independence and you, the work being done to Fischillo and Tully is really wonderful for our senior population. The Call Place seniors, of course, meet at Fischillo Park, and Project Independence also does our we have a fitness classes starting there. It's the first time since COVID, dance and yoga. So very excited about that, Tai Chi. So we actually do have to take a quick break. We'll be right back with Supervisor Jennifer DeSena with Project Independence and You.
Take WCWP with you wherever you go with the WCWP app. Listen live 24/7 to all of our streams, all from one app. Plus, call the studios directly from the app and visit our social media. Download the app through the iOS App Store on Apple devices or the Google Play Store on Android by searching WCWP Radio, or visit WCWP.org for links. The WCWP app, available now on iOS and Android devices.
And welcome back to Project Independence and You, Community Talk Radio on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. I'm Rebecca Miller, along with Otto Lohse, Christina Liu, and of course Dan Cox. And we're speaking with North Hempstead Town Supervisor Jennifer DeSena. Just talking about state of the town and kind of your top, your top 4 kind of visions. So we were talking a little bit about, I guess, the borders of the town, too, how we have this northwestern part of Nassau County. I mean, you don't get any more north or any more western than the town of North Hempstead. So, we're mostly, for the most part, north of Old Country Road. And I think it's west of Wantaw Parkway. I think those are kind of like the borders, though there are some areas where it kind of crosses over into Oyster Bay and some areas where it crosses over into into the town of Hempstead?
So yeah, we're close to New York City, and we have a lot of the people moved here probably because they wanted to get that suburban lifestyle, have the yard for their families, and have our great schools. We have super, high achieving public schools here, but we still have the train line to the city. So one of the things I want to make sure all of our viewers are aware of is that there has been a proposed change in density zoning for all of Long Island. It's going to particularly hurt us because we are within 15 miles of New York City. That's pretty much the whole town of North Hempstead. Everywhere that is half mile of any of our beloved train stations is going to be zoned for 50 units per acre under Governor Hochul's plan, which is in her budget. So a lot of people, they can't understand that. They say, well, yeah, how can she change the zoning? We moved here knowing what zoning we had, and we know that we vote for local leaders, and if there's going to be a change in zoning, we have a hearing about it, and people come and they maybe send a petition to the town board. This is the way we usually do things. I mean, that's the way local government works, is if you're in a village, you have village zoning. In the town, you have town zoning. And that's how people know what they've paid for when they've moved here. They've paid for a certain type of block, a suburban block. But Governor Hochul has announced an aggressive plan to create new housing, which, Governor Hochul thinks is important because housing is expensive. But, some might say, well, let's lower our taxes so that it's not so expensive. But there's this target of increasing housing quickly, and it's not being done in cooperation with any local leaders. It's coming straight from Albany, and there will be a group in Albany that can review any a developer's proposal. And if they want to build 50 units per acre and they're within half mile of a train station, they might be given that approval from Albany, even if the town says that's not our zoning. So this is something that will strain our resources beyond capacity. We all know we live on an island. We're surrounded by water. So there's not a lot of direction we can build except up. We also happen to live over our water source. We live on top of a sole source aquifer. So if we do something that damages our aquifer, that's our water supply, and we can't get more water. So to build this imaginary target number of housing within what is Nassau County is the densest suburban county in the country. I mean, we have the density that we wanted. Some of us say that our roads are too crowded. Northern Boulevard's crowded. The LIE is crowded. We have built density. We have established communities. So this is this is a target. It's a one-size-fits-all mandatory zoning that will supersede what we've been doing. And it's something that, because it's in the New York State budget, that all our legislators are expected to vote on. It's not the type, we don't have the type of give and take negotiation that one would expect. So I'm hoping that everybody who's concerned about this will write to the governor and write to your state legislative representatives, your state senators and your state assembly members, and ask them, demand that they not vote for this. Get it out of the budget. Let us talk about housing solutions. That is something we do. At every town board meeting, we discuss zoning. There might be a new application. There might be a need for a change in zoning, but it's something that we consider along with all the environmentalists, along with our fire commissioners, our schools. This would require building more schools. This would require purchasing fire trucks with ladders, because this will require purchasing elevators. It's the type of thing that's really not what we have now. We primarily, we have single family homes in a lot of the town, and this would require so much infrastructure that, in the end, it'll raise our taxes, and kind of change the way things look in Nassau County. So I just wanted to advise everybody of that, since we were talking about our trains, and it's been a great part of Nassau County, but unfortunately it's being used as a target.
It's hard to visualize. Like, I live about
It is
3/4 of a mile from the New Hyde Park train station. I used to live close enough I could walk to the Manhasset train station. And I try to visualize, like in Manhasset, for example, like bringing it down to the actual street level. Where would they go with things like that? There's not a lot of empty lots laying around. So you would have to take care of some things that already exist. They'd have to be destroyed or gotten rid of.
Right. Some people could sell their homes to a developer, and the developer would have the right to build, 50 units per acre. So if you're within that mile, you might sell your house. But if you're like you, Otto, and like me, I'm right outside of the half-mile radius. So I don't sell my house to a developer. I get to watch all the new apartments go in, and where do the cars go? Where do we park? So it really creates a even bigger problem for all the neighborhoods just outside of that circle around the train station.
Right. Well, I don't want to jump around too much, but one of the things that I know is, important to you, true to your heart, and I'd like a little bit of background. You had created the Substance Misuse Advisory Council. And, the numbers are stunning, everything related to substance misuse and abuse. But I know that you've been involved for many years. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about your prior experience and what you're doing with that prior experience and bringing it into North Hempstead.
Mm-hmm. Sure. I went to this meeting this morning at a place called Thrive, which was created by the Family and Children's Association. It's a place where people can go who are in long-term recovery, and it's open 7 days a week. Because when you're in long-term recovery, you're still there for your family, you're productive, you're working. There are wonderful things about it, but you also, sometimes need to go to a place where it's safe. Super Bowl Sunday, there's a lot of alcohol around, a lot of gambling around. That can be hard for somebody who wants to stay in long-term recovery. So they have events like that there, and they have a lot of counselors. Actually, they have a lot of peers who they call Sherpas. And the peers are people who, help them stay in a program, whether it's 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, the type of program they need. And I happen to be having a meeting after this today with my Substance Misuse Advisory Committee. The big thing that we have to make the world aware of is fentanyl. Mm-hmm. It's changed everything. Fentanyl is replacing heroin as the drug, and it kills because it's so powerful. I mean, in the old days, people like, Michael Jackson, Tom Petty, these are people, these are my musicians. They had used heroin, but they didn't die until fentanyl was in the heroin. Now, these days, fentanyl is in everything. And so we're not talking about people getting counseling or being in recovery or anything to do with addiction. We're talking about a college kid who's nervous about going to a party, decides to take a Xanax before going to a party, and the Xanax has fentanyl in it. Or even there were a couple of girls who died, last year during finals. They took an Adderall and it had fentanyl in it. They died studying for their finals. So last year, 110,000 people died of overdoses. This is a huge jump. We were, before the pandemic, I was executive director of a coalition against substance abuse. Thanks to a lot of partners working together, the numbers were starting to decrease. We were reducing the stigma about seeking help. Then the pandemic came along. A lot of people sort of developed new anxiety. There's a lot to be worried about. Loss of jobs, loss of friends, fear of COVID. And so a lot of people weren't getting the help they needed, weren't going to see doctors. And so last year it was the highest number ever, 110,000. And these are all preventable deaths.
How would you, I'm sorry, but the Substance Abuse Advisory Council, how do you visualize working with that council to cut this all down? What's the process, if you will, within the council?
Yes. These are experts. One thing I'm not a social worker, so I'm better at prevention education. But the people who I have asked to serve on this are professionals, like Steve Chasman of LICAD, like Dr. Nellie Taylor Walthrust of the North Shore Guidance Center, Dr. Sandeep Kapoor of Northwell. He's an expert in SBIRT, which is a screening plan, which, what we need to do is get the screening down to, an everyday level where you can ask anyone, children, adults, about their mental health. It's just a series of a few questions so you can find out if someone is suffering. Are they having any, suicidal ideation? And once you ask these questions, and this becomes normal to ask these questions, then you refer them for treatment. So it's, brief intervention and referral to treatment. I also have Drew Scott has joined my committee. He's an expert in media. He's been a News 12 reporter, and now I believe he's working for NBC. He lost his granddaughter, his 17-year-old granddaughter, to fentanyl. And he's done a lot of work in Suffolk County. So the idea is to bring these experts together and get the word out so it reaches everyday North Hempstead residents, our employees, so that they understand, what are some warning signs and where can you get help? Because, one of the mental health experts I knew from my past job was Eric Cusin, and he says it's 5 and 5. When we talk about, 1 in 5 teenagers has a mental health problem, most people are saying, well, it's not mine. It's 1 in 5. I'm in the 4. This is not my problem. But when you say mental health is 5 and 5, that means all of us. We all are going to have some sort of mental health stress, and we need to know what are the tools, where can we go to help, how do we talk about it, so that we, reduce the suffering and we don't have a big problem. You have small problems, you get help, and it doesn't become a bigger problem.
I think one of the, I don't want to say good things, but it is that I do think there is less of a stigma now when it comes to mental health. I mean, because of COVID, because every family that might have had a younger person in it during COVID, or anybody who, is doing work from home, maybe the child was an outgoing athlete, or, and all of a sudden that's taken away. I mean, we talked about this,
Right.
If you remember the very beginning of COVID, any child who was a senior in high school didn't have a graduation, didn't have a prom, didn't, do all those things that all seniors do, because it hit at that pivotal point. And, I just think so many people, like families, the families that had that kind of 1 in 5 vibe, it's where the 4. Now, everybody, I really don't know anyone who during COVID wasn't impacted with some type of a mental health issue during these past 3 years. I really don't. I mean, and a lot of people. So I think these committees, are so important for so many reasons. I have a lot of questions about fentanyl. Like everything that goes in my head is like, well, how does it get in these drugs? Are they getting drugs from the internet? I mean, obviously it's illegal unless it's prescribed. How is it coming into our country? Is it being mass produced here? And what can we do as, parents and grandparents and neighbors to kind of be more aware of fentanyl? Because like you said, you're not looking for like back in the day when people were using heroin, you knew these people had a serious drug problem, but you're talking about kids in college who may be taking it to stay up to finish a report, and that one time, that's the scariest thing of all. It could be that just that one time, it's all it takes.
Rebecca,
Right.
you're just ringing some bells here. This is a little off the track maybe, but we ought to have a show with a representative from the Substance Misuse Advisory Council, specifically talking about fentanyl and what it really means. Like you said, it's a word to most of us.
Right, Otto, you read my mind. I wrote it down on my paper, so that's something I will be following up on.
And I do think we have to take a quick break. You're listening to Project Independence in You, Community Talk Radio on 88.1 FM. And WCWP.org. And we will be right back with North Hempstead Town Supervisor Jennifer DeSena.
WCWP is your home for great music and great conversation. You'll find all that and more on WCWP.org. Listen live on the web, check out the lineup, subscribe to podcasts, and stay up to date on the latest station events. Get in touch with us and let us know if you like what you're hearing. And find out how you can support or get involved at the only community public radio station serving Nassau's North Shore. Plus, sign up to get a free bumper sticker. It's all online at WCWP.org.
And welcome back to Project Independence in You, Community Talk Radio on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. I'm Rebecca Miller along with Otto Lohse and Christina Liu, Dan Cox. We are speaking with our North Hempstead Town Supervisor. And, we're trying to stay on task with the state of the town, but we're just going out. But, we were talking about the Misuse Council and all the things that are happening with mental health. And I think that's a show, as you were saying, Supervisor, during break. We'll definitely have to get a show and talk about this. I mean, we have had Steve on before, and wealth of information. I mean, just, it's endless. And, it does change over the years. Things do change, and, the ages of people using, and, of course, we seniors too are getting into, and misuse isn't always about fentanyl or illegal drugs. It's about drugs that are prescribed to and not used correctly. So it's such a big, important topic. And I'm really glad that you have this council, because it's really about education. I mean, let's face it, if we don't know and we shut the door when the kids look, or we don't know what they're doing, we don't know. We need to know what to look out for. But,
it's really complicated though. Like you talk about education. I can talk to you about education, about things. Take care of your teeth when you're younger. Dermatologist, eat the right food, all this stuff. Don't smoke. And you tell that to younger people, and you don't always get through. It's like it can't happen to me. And I think that's hard to overcome. Right. And that requires some professional help and guidance. How do you get the message out where people really, really, there are some people who get it. And then there's a lot of people that are kind of like, that's not going to ever bother me, kind of an attitude. And how do you get that? How do you get over that hurdle, if you will? It's not easy.
Yeah, I was speaking with someone this morning who does prevention education in schools. And so I said to him, give it to me in 5 words. What's the message right now? And of course he didn't answer that, because that's the wrong way to look at it. And he said what they do before they go into a school is they'll do a survey and figure out and really tailor it for what the needs are in that school. What are the risks? What are kids worried about? What's going on in the community? And then you don't just go in one time, you go in several times, and you make it safe for the kids to talk about it. So, you can't just go in and give a lecture, tell a scary story. You have to get into the positive things that kids can do. What is it that worries them? How can they handle it? How can they handle it in a positive way? And, that's the way you educate them so that they'll make a better choice someday.
Right. It's not just about saying to a child, there are better choices. Well, what are they? Give them options. Here are some of the things you could be doing, or, you can't just preach them about, doing something different than what you're doing now. It's like you got to do, guide them a little, to that. And I mean, there are a lot of great parents out there, and I don't think any of us were perfect parents, because we didn't, we kind of learn. It's almost like you learn a lot of the really good tools as you get older, and you go through it and you go back. Oh, if only I, drove him to whatever. I don't know. I'm just, saying that, but it's like doing an intervention almost. You can't have everybody in the family and come and do an intervention if you're not going to say, well, this is where you need to go, or this is how we can help you. It's not just about everybody is worried about you, but you gotta offer up those options.
Right. You have to have positive choices.
Right.
Well, you use those words, great parents, all right? That's like a little syndrome connected to it by itself. A lot of people would have a problem admitting they're not great parents, or that even though they are great parents, their children have a drug problem or some other kind of issue. And I think the parents part of it is also part of the education, is not being in denial if there are problems, and accepting the fact that, hey, we are good parents. Something went wrong, and we'll try to fix it. It's just two parts to the equation.
This is definitely another show. I mean, we could talk about this aspect. So, but it's great that we've got this in the town and we are talking about it. So I know Christina has been writing ferociously. I guarantee there's going to be a show, maybe, I'm going to say 3 or 4 weeks, I know, where we'll revisit this topic. And, maybe we can get Steve back on along with you, and just kind of get a full vision of some of the things we could be doing as a community. With all this stuff. And I know that we're working with a lot of our veterans too. There's a lot of things that we do in the town to help veterans. I mean, of course, Project Independence.
Yes.
We do have a veterans caseworker. She's also Project Independence social worker for the town. And she sees veterans in the town, helps them with their entitlements or their spouses as well. And it doesn't just have to be a senior. So she's really there for everyone in the town. And there's a lot of things, there's a lot of veterans who maybe after the war, or, they went into a private field and they never really required any of the benefits of being a veteran. Maybe they had, great health insurance through their jobs, and it just really wasn't something they thought about. But now that so many people are living so much longer, those things are coming back to play. And though there are some things that can be helpful. So, people can call 311 to speak with the Project Independence, veterans caseworker. And she doesn't have the answer. She has so many contacts. So, it's another really good resource that we have in North Hempstead.
So I had a meeting of my Veterans Advisory Committee a couple weeks ago, and guess what we talked about the most? Mental health. This is what kept on coming up, was mental health. And some people, explain that they or their children, whoever it was, they wouldn't even talk about what they had experienced while they were fighting, while they were serving. And it took a long time for them to be able to talk about it. So another thing is that there was an idea that we should be more inclusive, that, when you think of veterans, it shouldn't be the old model where you had, that we have to expand from the old model where it was more of like a social activity, playing cards or having dinner at an American Legion or a VFW. but that we need to make sure we're including younger veterans who maybe that's not what they're looking for. They're not looking for a social venue, but they want to talk, or they want to serve, or there's some other need. So we're working on a program that will be more inclusive. And once we start talking about mental health, we hope that this might be something that all first responders might also feel, realize that they could take advantage of. Our first responders often see things that are very hard, that they would benefit from talking about. And so when we talk about mental health, it's about acknowledging that, what did you experience on the job, and how do you deal with that? Maybe you can't talk to your spouse about it or your kids about it. You need someone, whether it's a professional or a peer, to talk about what you went through. So the Veterans Advisory Committee also did an incredible job right before Christmas of raising gift cards, and we delivered over $10,000 worth of gift cards to the VA hospital out in Northport. So I'm so proud of that effort. I mean, it was a huge amount, and a lot of it came from our high school kids. We had a huge amount, 2,000 collected from New Hyde Park Memorial, over 500 collected at Westbury High School, and they do it every year, and more from one of the Great Neck high schools. But it was great that people wanted to help the veterans, and they need to know that we remember them, and that this is something that helps them celebrate with their families at Christmas time. They could buy gifts with it, or they can get what they need for themselves.
Years ago, Project Independence, Christina was very involved in this, and I know Otto was too. They did veteran stories and archived their stories on video. And there were a lot, because when you had said that they don't usually talk, and there were a lot of World War II veterans that, were much older, but they would bring their families sometimes they'd go to the homes and record and ask questions, and other times, we had them come to the radio station. And I remember this one time we were talking to this one man, and his family came in, and he just told these incredible stories. And the family said they never heard any of them before. But the way you get them to open up is different. They just never opened up before about any of these stories. And now they're archived, and the families were there, and the stories were the guys were so young. Some never went into combat, but maybe were on a ship. I mean, we had a guy, remember, Christina, whose the whole front end of the ship was completely blown off, and he slept through it. On the ship. Like he's like, all of a sudden, wakes up, and that's how powerful these ships are. But the stories of going through the Panama Canal and all these different, experiences. And I know Otto has talked about experiences as well. It's
that was a really great bunch of stuff we did. That went on for more than a year. I think.
Absolutely.
We had veterans that were in World War II, which the facts are there's a lot less, and there were some who were like me. Frankly, I was in the Cold War, and even then there's circumstances and things that go on. We lost 11 people on a peacetime cruise on an aircraft carrier. So it's not, even though there's nothing, maybe you weren't in a physical war, there's stuff going on around you that's not always so great. And you used the word young, 19 years old. How stupid can you be at 19? Very stupid. I can attest to that. When you're young, you think you know a lot. You don't really know much, to be blunt about it. And I'm not being derogatory against younger people. I love them, and I have a great relationship with my own family. And I always tell them, I said, do you think I know more now than I did when I was 19 years old?
True.
Right. I do.
Yes.
Well, you know what? I just have to chime in because I listen here, and I just have to say, Supervisor, I mean, the fact that the town is doing all these committees. And like, listen, the common theme throughout all these committees is having this open communication, and the fact that the town is recognizing, the importance of this. I mean, I know so many young veterans who aren't going to an American Legion, who aren't part of these things, anymore. So it is looking at this and saying like, all right, so how do we revamp this? And I think that the substance abuse committee, the veterans committee, all these committees, that's the fact that the town is recognizing on, under your leadership. I'm a social worker, so you're speaking my language in all this, mental. I mean, on this show every Friday, no matter what the topic is, somehow we always end up talking about mental health. I mean, it's just, and I think it's just so important that, we're just like reevaluating things and figuring out a way to keep it, because at the end of the day, we can't like force people to do anything, but having a safe place and this open communication is just so important. So kudos to the town. I think this is amazing stuff.
What you said, Supervisor, is like the American Legion, VFW, a lot of organizations, younger people are not joiners. They don't have the time. They have other social lives. And I think that organizations like that have to, and even the Veterans Advisory group that we have, if you think about it, the number of veterans is a lot smaller than it used to be, just because that's the way it is. And the reaching out to other people who may go through mental health trauma, like first responders. Frankly, two of our daughters work for a place where they handle people who have had issues, psychological issues, working with the MTA. A train hit somebody, a bus driver hit somebody. These are all traumas that people go through that impact their mental health. So I think maybe the whole idea is that it's got to expand, as you pointed out. They have to reach out. American Legion and VFWs and whatnot are going to have a big problem someday. They're not going to have anybody going to the meetings.
Right. They need to figure out how to reach out to the younger veterans. I mean, it's mutual. They both need each other. They're going to need some way to continue, but they also have to figure out, what do the younger veterans need? How do they want to socialize or be educated or continue to help? What I think people really benefit from helping others. So I had the opportunity to attend an event at a Manhasset Collision is the store, and they did a program with Geico where a used car was purchased by Geico and then refurbished by Manhasset Collision. And the result was a gorgeous 2016 car that they gave to a veteran. And this veteran is a single parent, but he also uses the car to drive other veterans around to their appointments. And he's also an EMT. So we often find people, they keep giving back, and it's because that makes them feel better too. The volunteering is their medicine, it's their therapy. But and this veteran was, maybe 40.
Such a wealth of talent in this town.
Yes.
In this town, I mean, even like at our advisories, we found a Tai Chi instructor. We've had a, Barbara Melman technology for the terrified. So even within this town, there's so much talent and helpful, but you're so right about helping, helping other people. It's really, it gives you a good feeling, and you're doing such wonderful things. And I think it's catchy, if getting the word out. But I just want to say, any of the topics we discussed today, anything to do with the veterans or the substance misuse committee, please call 311 if you have any questions, or 516-869-6311. You can call, speak with the supervisor's office. Certainly Christina or I will be very happy to, get you to the right area also on your questions. Even if it's a question, just call. There's no, it's just a quick call, and, we're just happy to help our residents get the information that they need. So, it's just kind of an easy way. So we don't have much more, maybe another minute. So I want to, and there's Dan coming up. So I want to thank you so much for joining us today and giving us a full hour. I know how busy you are. You already mentioned several places you were before even coming into the office. So thank you so much for sharing with us your visions, what's going on in the town in 2023.